coach is someone that's accessible, somebody you can look to.
Yeah, when you're working in an investment bank, and a lot of people don't know this, as a trader, you are like the William Hill, the Ladbrokes of the investment world. And when Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio wants to buy stocks, they go to the investment bank to do the execution.
Yeah.
Right, so
when you're in the business of stopping people from scrolling, you actually do that by being specific and by speaking to people and saying, this is for you, this video is for you specifically, rather than speaking about money in a generic way.
The Unlikely Alliance with Johnson Situ. Bridging differences, sparking conversations.
Debodun, Rotimi, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to today's discussion. Before we get into the discussion, I wanted to pick up on something. So you've both been very deliberate about the name you attach to the work that you do. And I wanted to explore the journey into that, both in terms of Coach Debs and also Rotimi. What was that journey like, and how did you come about choosing those names, and what does it mean to you? And I say that because I've got a similar journey as well that I'll talk about as well, but keen to hear your thoughts.
So I've actually got a double identity and I've changed the names of both.
Yeah.
So initially on Instagram, I was Man Like Debs.
Yeah.
And a lot of people might not realize where that came from.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Peckham, as you know, and
Big up.
we have a lot of slang.
Yeah.
And I wanted that identity to shine through what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because I knew that a lot of people might not be able to understand the journey if they just saw Debodun or Sakita. When they see Man Like Debs, it's like, hang on, that's an unlikely alliance. Someone that's doing well, but has a name that sounds like graffiti.
There's a name that is for men's.
But also, it enables people who might have grown up in a similar environment to me to be able to attach themselves to what I was doing.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Because they see themselves.
Yeah.
And it was very important for me to be very visible to people who might have grown up in a similar environment to how I grew up.
Yeah.
And when they see the man like, there's an immediate, oh, he's one of us.
Yeah.
Over time, that evolved to Coach Debs.
Yeah.
Because my identity was becoming a bit more public profile.
Yeah.
And coach.
Yeah.
And I felt like the time was right last year, actually, 10 years later, to switch it to Coach Debs.
Yeah.
Now, on the stock picking side, it actually started off as Stockpickers Association. With a really horrible logo that I designed myself.
We've all been there. You know when you got like a week to do it, and you do it yourself.
Let me just put something together. I think I did it in 10 minutes and it was live. And that's because I just saw the community that I'd built as like an association. I wanted to make it sound formal. But there was a moment where Stockpickers Academy changed to becoming very educational. So initially it was never meant to be educational. I just wanted other people who were already investing to come together. So before we hit that buy button, we can have conversation, we can critique, we can make sure that we're not making mistakes.
So like peer-to-peer sort of vibe, yeah.
So when I switched it to Academy, it was because I changed my mind.
Yeah.
There were so many questions flying in, so many people who'd never invested before, and I found myself educating.
Yeah.
So I said, actually, let me adopt the identity of a learning environment, a learning community. So it went from Stockpickers Association, investors, to Stockpickers Academy, school.
Yeah. And that's fascinating, because one thing that underpins that is that accessibility, like you talked about.
Yes.
Man Like Debs being accessible, and also even the coach is someone that's accessible, somebody you can look to.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much underpinned some of your journey as well, Rotimi, as well. Can you talk through your choice of name and how you've come to attach it to Mr. Money Jar?
Sure thing. My full name is Daniel Rotimi Merriman Johnson.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
So I find it very difficult to fill out forms. Takes up all the space on the passport. So yeah, you have your Christian name, then I've got my Yoruba name, which is my middle name, and then I've got this double-barreled surname. And my whole life I've been called Timmy. But even that caused confusion for people because growing up in the UK, people would be like, "Oh, is that Timothy?" And then they'd kind of extend it to being an English name.
Yeah.
And so I'm 35 now, and when I got to age 30, I wanted to change it to Rotimi because I wanted a name which was just very blatantly Yoruba, particularly with my surname as well. If I had a Yoruba surname, then I could maybe get away with like an English sounding name. But I bailed. I didn't think that I was worthy of going by a Yoruba name. I don't really know why. I should probably sit down and think about that for a little bit. But over the last 5 years of running the business, as I've gotten more exposure, I've thought very carefully about what I want to appear on the cover of books, what I want to go on flyers, what I want people to associate with me. And we live in a global world.
Yeah.
And I think the name Rotimi, people can immediately see that and go, okay, this person's from Nigeria, they're Yoruba, this is their culture, this is their history. And I think that started to happen.
Yeah.
I also find myself in a weird situation where probably most people know me as Mr. Money Jar anyway. So I'm trying to incorporate that as well. I was doing an interview with the FT a few weeks ago in near Mansion House Bank area. And I left and I was walking back to the tube station. And there was this guy, like he was kind of like squinting at me. And he was like, "Oh, you're Mr. Money Jar." So I also want to pay attention to the fact that probably most people just know me as Mr. Money Jar just because of my social media handle.
Yeah. No, and you know, we're gonna. I'm looking forward. We're gonna delve into both Stockpickers Academy and Mr. Money Jar further on in the conversation. For me, why I wanted to start off with this is my journey also into to names as well is very much tied up into, you know, for many years I've known Debodun a long time. Nee was how I was known, and Johnson was also my name as well. But then after my dad passed, Johnson was what he would call me all the time, and that felt like a fitting moment. And a lot of people did call me Johnson as well, but it felt like a fitting moment to also, you know, we talked about ambitions, talked about all what we wanted to achieve, and it talked about it felt like a fitting moment to actually really embrace that and take that forward. But enough about names for a moment. I want to delve a little bit more into you both. Thank you so much for coming along. And to introduce you, Debodun Osakita runs and set up Stockpickers Academy. You've got a wealth of experience in both investing, over a decade of experience working from names like Goldman Sachs, and also coaching and supporting the next generation. Rotimi Merriman Johnson, you've set up Mr. Money Jar and worked again to inspire the next generation, as well as featuring on the likes of, you both have featuring on the likes of publications like BBC, ITV, and just being able to inspire a whole generation. So I'm really looking forward to today's discussion. But I wanted to start at the beginning. What inspired you both to set up both Stockpickers Academy and also Mr. Money Jar? Because, you know, having done a little bit of reading, you've come at it from a slightly different angle, and I'm interested to explore that a little bit. So start off with you, Debodun.
Yeah, I feel like I've been asked this a lot. And ultimately, I've always had the gift of teaching.
Yeah.
And I've always looked behind me at who's coming back. So as early as primary school, I would help people who were struggling with their numeracy, with their spelling, because I was a genius kid.
Yeah.
When I was in primary school, I was very, very intelligent. I knew my times tables by the age of 5, 6, all the way up to 12.
Wow.
And I could see people struggling in class with, I mean, some people learnt their times tables in year 10, year 9, right? So primary school, learning how to spell Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, learning how to tell the time. I used to help people with those things. As time has gone on, choosing which GCSEs they want to study, choosing which sixth forms they want to go to and why, helping them choose universities, helping them with their UCAS application forms, going into banking, helping them to choose their careers, being visible, going into schools. I think you might have been part of Urban Synergy at some point. So we started early, right?
Yeah. Something I should say is that I've known Debodun for years because also a fellow Peckham person as well.
Our parents knew each other as well, which
exactly.
we didn't know.
I know. And this is, okay, we won't make it a conversation about that, but we could like wax lyrical about just how that our parents' generation always banded together. But anyway, I don't want to distract from our
so ultimately, I've always had the mind to help people with different things based on my knowledge and my experience. So then it became careers. And then 6 years into my career in investment banking, after I left Goldman Sachs, I didn't know what stocks and shares ISA was. I didn't know what a pension, a SIP was. I knew what a pension was, but I didn't really pay attention to it. And it was actually the journey of moving my previous workplace pension to a private self-invested pension SIP that made me learn that even existed in the first place, and that I could actually pick individual stocks and invest and make the choices on how my pension is growing by myself, because I had the skills, I just didn't know I could do it. So that journey led me on to trying to find my tribe, other people who were doing the same thing. And then I became everyone's guinea pig. So me and you are in that group where I started from scratch, and I was sending screenshots every time I made a transaction. Eventually I was able to grow my pension by 10 times. Right. And along that journey, there was a moment where Quagu said, why don't you start a bigger group? And we'll just invite all our friends and everyone we know. And then that bigger group, so that group still exists, as you know, but that bigger group is what became Stockpickers Academy. So initially it was finding other people who were investing and, documenting my journey along with the growth. And as it grew, WhatsApp had a limit of 250 at the time, right?
Good problem to have.
255.
Good problem to have.
And that meant there was a massive waiting list of like 300-400 back in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Right, 2015. So it was one in, as people left, I just would, because some people found the group overwhelming. So they would leave, and this time the group is free. So all the way up to like, I think 2020, 2021, WhatsApp then increased it to 1,000. And that enabled me to be able to add more. But in 2020, what I actually did is I created a Telegram group, which had a bigger capacity. And I started my Instagram page. And then I created another dodgy website, and it had like books to read. It had all the bits of information. It's still there, but I just don't have the link. And that was, listen, if you're on the waiting list, here's at least something you can do. You can watch my Instagram. You can go to this website and look at the recommended books. And I was writing a blog at the time. And then, it's just grown from there, really. We had Clubhouse, we had podcasts that I would go on to, and then word of mouth. Word of mouth was my biggest marketing machine. Because there were a lot of people who had already just started picking individual stocks, and they weren't doing it with a coach, they weren't doing it with a community. And when the pandemic hit, it was crisis. Because you can actually get away with doing things in the wrong manner for a couple of years. Interest rates are low, and then that is D-Day, where everyone gets exposed. Exactly. And that was the eureka moment in Stockpickers, where there was a lot of, Debs, whatever I'm doing is wrong. How is it that there's been a massive crash, one like black swan type event, and your portfolio is holding firm because you sold 80% of it in November and December, and now you're buying where we literally don't have any cash to buy, right? And that was, and then everyone else in the group seeing people that they respected in the group effectively saying, I fold on what I'm doing, I want to learn your way.
What I found fascinating about, as you say, that we, seen the journey as it's developed is, and you talk about it now, is people from different backgrounds, like people, there are experts there, but there are people who are just come into it with with some money on the side, and they want to be able to improve their financial health.
Yeah.
And so if we've gone from Debodun, who is, it's fair to say, investing has been in your blood for a long while, something you've always done. Now flip that over to Rotimi, who you kind of stumbled across both financial PR and Mr. Money Jar. It would be good to hear your journey.
Yeah, it's gonna sound like I'm copying Debs, but I did have a similar experience at school.
Yeah,
where I was just really I don't know if it's like the Nigerian thing or whatever, but there was a very strong emphasis on education, very strong emphasis on like being good at spelling, being good at maths. So I had like the times tables, like cassette tapes to like songs in the house, and we would learn it that way. I was moved a year up in primary school, so I did year 6 twice. So I always enjoyed learning, and I also had a similar journey to investing, where the job I had in the financial PR company had a workplace pension with a provider, and I retained it after I left that job. And then I realized that you could use that platform to buy stocks and stuff. So it's like a very similar thing. Okay. We went to the same uni, both went to Warwick. You were in the year above me, but then I literally found out last year that we're the same age. You were just the year ahead. So, again, because of genius.
I didn't know you got moved up. So the difference is I didn't do a double year.
Yeah.
I just went to secondary school.
Yeah. My parents wanted me to be in the same year as, same age as people in my year. So I did year 6 twice. Did my SATs
What
twice.
was the second time doing it like? Was
very
it
easy.
Like being in the same class over and over.
I did year 6 at St. Bernadette's, primary school in Clapham Park, and then I went to Dulwich College. So I went to private school from year 6 to year 9. And
okay. So it was at least it was a different environment,
different group of people.
Okay, it wasn't like the same teachers over again.
So myself and Debs, we've talked about this. There's some really weird like commonalities through how we came up. But if Debodun is a teacher, I would say that I'm more of a researcher.
Yeah.
So I like to work alone. I like to engross myself in data, engross myself in books, come to my own conclusions, and then just kind of share it with people. And that's what social media has kind of allowed me to do. That I'm less good at working with people and less good at creating communities. So I didn't start a WhatsApp group or anything. It was just literally me by myself, just reading books. I'm always reading something. I was reading the next best book I think I'm supposed to read, and then sharing my findings. And similarly, in like 2018, 2019 times, when I was on this massive personal development push, I was reading, Your Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Richest Man in Babylon's and stuff. All the stuff was American. And so I thought at that time, if there's got to be a market for talking about this stuff, but instead of talking about 401ks, you're talking about self-invested personal pensions. And so I started Mr. Money Jar, which is actually my second company. I had like a previous kind of fintech company for a year, but it didn't work out. And then, like the pandemic is when things really took off, because everyone was at home and on their phones. Some people had surplus cash, some people had lost their jobs, and there was just huge demand for people wanting to learn about money. In the UK, and I've kept it specifically pounds and pence because that's where the need is. And then in the last year, I would say I've niched down even further to speaking specifically about the Black British community and how all of the financial stuff affects us and things that we specifically can do.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And people are really hungry for the information.
And it speaks to what I wanted to cover as well, which is part of the Unlikely Alliance podcast is talking about actually these unlikely alliances that we see on a daily basis that actually we know exist, but we don't necessarily see because, for one reason or the other, it's not covered as much as it should be. And I think, Debodun, I think this probably particularly applies to you, but I think also this applies to you, Rotimi, as well. You've both created both platforms and through your own platforms, a message and also professional experiences. And I wanted to just delve a little bit more into that. Like, how have you found that experience? Because I'm sure working in the investment field, you would have come across a certain type of investor over many years. And, once you've created a platform, what I think the beauty of it is you've interacted with people from all different backgrounds, from people who might be a tradesperson to people who might be working in the NHS who wants to improve their financial health. How's that journey been for you, and what have you learned?
It's really interesting you asked that, because when you're working in an investment bank, and a lot of people don't know this, as a trader, you are like the William Hill, the Ladbrokes of the investment world. And when Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio wants to buy stocks, they go to the investment bank to do the execution.
Yeah.
Right. So as a market maker, you are getting to see what the top hedge funds are doing.
Yeah.
Which is, they're the smartest people on Wall Street. Wall Street being the term given to financial institutions that are investing, right? Now, you have to sell lows and buy highs sometimes, which is the opposite of how to make money. But you're providing a service. So if Warren Buffett wants to buy the stock, you have to sell it to him and then know how to manage the risk around that, right? But aside from that, you get to see the strategies that the hedge funds are using. And when I read books about investing, by the way, I'm dyslexic, so I don't read much. I just get things.
Yeah.
I figure things out myself. And then when I do come across excerpts or small chunks of information, which I can digest quite quickly, it's then okay, that aligns with what I know. That aligns with what I'm thinking. Or actually, that's another angle that I need to start adopting. So what I found is there is what smart money, hedge funds know, and then there's what the books are telling people to do. And if you've got 5K to invest, you can't use the same strategies as someone who's got $1 million to invest or 5 million to invest. In the bank, for example, we can't trade or invest in penny stocks or really, really tiny companies because it goes against the bank's risk management framework. So there's a minimum size that some stocks need to be, or sometimes even a minimum price to even be listed on, say, the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ has, which is the biggest, which has all the technology companies in America, has a minimum price requirement. So if the price falls below, the companies have to do something called a reverse stock split. So the price is above that requirement. So all these different criteria exist in the institutional world, which means that in the world of smaller stocks that only what I call retail investors, that's the average person, can invest in, we have an edge. You get an edge if you've got a coach. If you've got a community, you're able to get an edge because most people don't. So just by having those things alone and having that think tank means that you can have a strategy that can outperform up until the stock reaches a level where the institutions then get involved, right? And then you're in the money because they will lift the price from 20 to 50 if you were there at 5 trying to get it to 20. I was very privileged to work in 4 different types of institution that make money in 4 different types of way. So at Goldman Sachs, money is made in one type of way, investment bank world. Jewish family office, money is made in a completely different way because your job is to grow capital. You're not William Hill there. You're more proprietary, which is what most people are when you've got cash in your stocks and shares ISA and you're trying to grow it. You're not William Hill. Hargreaves Lansdown, Trading 212, IG.com, those are the William Hills. So they're playing the role of investment banks that investment banks play to your Warren Buffetts and your big hedge funds. So moving back, I went to Barclays where I worked in bonds treasury. So you're doing transactions, borrowing and lending with central banks like the Bank of England, the Fed, the ECB. And you're learning about what I call the plumbing of the financial system. That's how Lehman Brothers went down, right? And then I worked in a quantitative hedge fund. So this is not William Hill environment anymore. You are now actually the Warren Buffett, the Ray Dalio. You're literally trying to create algorithms, bots, mathematical models to trade the market. So you just turn it on and it just goes. They're called black boxes. And when you work in that environment, emotion is taken out of the equation completely because it's all programmed in. So that was a game changer for me, really, because I saw things I didn't even see at Goldman Sachs. I saw things I didn't even see at Barclays. I saw things I didn't even see in the Jewish family office.
And how did you relate that to, how's that impacted your journey in terms of Stockpickers Academy and also creating the community that you have developed?
Because for the very first time, I saw that there was a way to create a strategy that a lot of people could follow and learn, right? At Goldman Sachs, you have to maybe improvise a bit on certain situations. You are more like a boxer in a fight sometimes. Whereas in a quantitative hedge fund, it's like playing Football Manager. You're just watching. You've put some things in place and then you press play. And you're then watching how the team develops. Maybe a better example of working in an investment bank is you're playing FIFA. You are controlling every single aspect versus being a manager where you're watching, you've put some rules in place and you're watching. So this helped me to systemize the strategy that I already knew, because I knew what I was doing, but I didn't quite know how to systemize it for a bus driver. So what I've actually done is I've taken the best parts of all those ways of investing and I've created a hybrid. Most people work in investment bank in 10 years and then maybe go to an asset manager for 10 years or a hedge fund. So they'll work in maybe two of those institutions. But the quantitative hedge fund is a very niche space. They are the best hedge funds in the industry, in the world. They're the institutions that make the most money in the world, right? And very few people get to work in those environments for a number of different reasons. Availability, jobs. So I was very fortunate to end up in that environment to see things that way. So there's a lot of myths about how black boxes operate. A lot of people think it's just like trying to make so much money off little tiny increments in time. That's like 10%. There are long-term investing strategies at these funds as well. Medium-term investing strategies at these companies as well.
And what's been really good is that you've been able to translate all of those various experiences into the community that you've developed.
In a simplified way.
In a simplified way.
That's easy to understand.
Yeah.
And my test for that is when I see nurses outperforming the S&P 500.
Wow.
Over a period of 5 years.
That's
not just a one-off period.
Yeah.
Mechanics, bus drivers.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to that, because one thing also I'm keen to explore is the view, the impression that sometimes, actually, quite wrongly in most cases, that the impression of investors and the impression of traders as well. So let's come back on that. But Rotimi, from your work and the people you've interacted with from all different backgrounds, and you've spoken about the work you're particularly doing now in terms of speaking particularly to the Black British community, how was that journey developed and what have you learned in terms of speaking to people from different experiences or people engaging with your work from different experiences?
I'd say the journey started for me in earnest in 2020 with the murder of George Floyd, and just wanting to understand the history of Black people all over the world and why discrimination exists and why there's so much pain. And I did what I always do, and I started to read books. So I read some David Olusoga, for example, and then I wanted to find a way to translate what I learned into something actionable for people. So when you look at the fact that, I don't know, I have a surname like Merriman Johnson, or the fact that we live in the UK or in the US, there's a historical context around that. And it also feeds into the financial as well. Like, there are specific historical reasons why the stock market exists, why things like insurance exist, why they were created in Europe, and even like insurance was created in London, for example. So I was learning about all these things. And then I wanted to speak about it in a way that wouldn't turn people off or be super negative, but would empower people. So what I'm doing now is I'm reading a lot of data on the Black British community. I'm finding correlations and stories, and I'm sharing it with people in a kind of conversation starter type way, just saying, here's what's going on with the Black British nuclear family. We were talking about lone parenthood downstairs, for example. Here's what's going on. What do you think?
Yeah.
And I was very scared to do that in the beginning. I thought it might be seen as me airing dirty laundry or being a downer or turning people off. But actually, it's been received really well. And I'm gonna continue doing it because like I've had posts go viral, you know, talking about this stuff. And I think as long as you take data, as long as you make a point, support it with data, and make it actionable, and don't just talk about something for the sake of talking about it, then it actually tends to be received really well. And also, as a content creator, when you're in the business of stopping people from scrolling, you actually do that by being specific and by speaking to people and saying, this is for you. This video is for you specifically, rather than speaking about money in a generic way.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the death of George Floyd, because actually it was very much the journey behind. It was very much one of the instigating things behind the Unlikely Alliance, because the reason why I set this up is because actually when following George Floyd, I was a councillor in Southwark and I was a cabinet member responsible. So cabinet member basically is somebody who runs a specific service within the council, the political lead on the council. And I was tasked with leading the council's response to George Floyd, because in Southwark, Debodun will know, Southwark is half Black, Asian and minority ethnic people, high diversity, people from all different backgrounds, and people were rightly concerned. And one of the things I had to do was, we led what we call a community conversation, which had to lead into recommendations, because what I was really keen is that we didn't just have another talking shop. This had to lead to addressing some of the inequalities that actually we saw highlighted in the weeks afterwards. And one of the things that was most powerful was, and most sad actually, was speaking to a group of young people would remind me of what we would have been like at that age, 14, 15. And one of them, a young black girl, I'll never forget the question. Her question was, what would be our advice to breaking the glass ceiling? And I thought that was a sad indictment on society, that at the age of 14, she already thought there was a glass ceiling on her ambition. And she was already aware of it and the impact it would have. And so...
She's talking in terms of jobs?
Yeah, just jobs in terms of career, everything. That's
really interesting, considering that black women are outperforming on a number of different metrics.
Yeah, but it's the impression.
Yeah.
And one thing we found was that certainly in the immediate aftermath of that discussion, I had the people from all different backgrounds come up to me and say, how do we address this issue? And that heartened me, because I thought, actually, it's not, this sense that we're all in our silos, that we're all in our boxes and nobody really cares about each other, it's just not the truth. It's not what you see in your academy, in the community that you've created. And I actually wanted to pick up on that a little bit as well, because you talked about the fact that actually the community that you've developed and the community that you've worked with others to develop as well, in many cases are outperforming or would be comparable to traditional what you call investors.
Yeah.
And what a sight would be if you had on a trading floor it be more representative of the community that you have created. Do you think that would ever be possible? Do you think, because I think rightly or wrongly, certain professions, I think it's across the field actually, are seen as quite, they're seen as elite, and they're seen that it's quite difficult to get to, and they only hire a particular kind of person. And so I think investment and trading sometimes does fall into that bracket as well. Do you feel, some of the work that you're doing as well will change some of that in the years to come as well?
Yeah, because before I was an investing coach, I was a career coach.
Yeah.
So when I joined Goldman Sachs at uni, when I got the job, I was the first one.
Yeah.
A lot of people changed their Facebook profile picture to me on hearing that I'd got the job, which is very, now I look back, it's very...
Facebook was different back then.
but still, it kind of took me aback because I only told 2 people.
Yeah.
But the news just spread.
Yeah.
And then that's when I realized that actually there are a lot of people waiting to see it go well for someone who looked like them. And that was their source of hope. And some of these people now have gone on to become managing directors and excelled in their own right. And it was like a massive breakthrough moment. And I think that there's some, I mean, I remember the guy who gave me my first opportunity at Goldman Sachs. He's in my WhatsApp group. He's bought my course. He pays his subscription because he recognizes there's some things that I've learned in my career that he didn't have visibility of. Right? And at the same time, he's a voice in the group that is a sounding board, but people might not know that's him.
And that's really powerful as well, because he's come onto the table as a peer to others as well.
Yes. So I realized to actually make that next step, you need a personal network of people, of experts. And I realized that a lot of people don't have that. I have that because I've gone out and I've built relationships, which is my currency, right? So how can I bridge that gap instead of telling people to go and network? That's easier said than done, right? How can I bring my personal network, take that risk digitally, so people have the access that I have as on a best efforts basis? Because now they probably get nearly 50% of my expert network in the group. Timmy's in the group, right? Most financial influencers are in the group. So if there's a topic that I feel like they can contribute to, I'll just at them and they'll just in that moment just give commentary on. Right. I feel like I didn't answer your question on.
No, I think that it is a powerful way of saying it. Is that you're bringing your network to that group, and it would be interesting to think whether in 5 or 10 years time, and I think you've touched on this, is that whether all of the work that you're doing and so many others will mean that when you get to trading flows like Goldman Sachs in years to come, that would be much more reflective of the community that you've developed.
If you compare the trading floors now to when I got to Goldman, where it was like, I always use this phrase, fly in a coconut ice cream, where most of the black people, I would say, are in support or in IT or in technology. Everywhere apart from the trading floor, the revenue generating part of the bank, you get some, but even as a trader, you probably, in my time, there was probably 3 in London, right? I did a lot of work going back to my uni, going back to other uni, coaching people from CV, cover letter, mock interview practice, aligning myself with organizations like Rare Recruitment, like SEO London, and I still do that today, where I take on 1 or 2 cohorts and I actually prepare them. Now, you look at the entry level of these places, I reckon it's 10x.
And that just testament to all of the work that's been done. And part of that is raising aspirations. And Rotimi, I know you've done a lot of work in terms of both in schools and inspiring the next generation. One of the big challenges is, and I think we touched on this earlier, is just a sense of numeracy skills and the sense of, you know, maths being accessible, maths being something that people might want to be able to go into, and also all of those careers that it leads to, so finance, etc., investment, etc., etc. Do you feel, have you seen, as part of your journey, have you seen that change a lot since the time you've started? And what would be your hopes for the future in terms of how we can make both numeracy more accessible, but then also we can start to improve those numeracy rates?
So I'm an ambassador for National Numeracy. It's a charity that helps adults and children in the UK feel more confident about numbers. And in the last 5 years, we have a day, National Numeracy Day, which is kind of, it's multi-pronged. There's media, there's social media stuff, there's in-person events. Each National Numeracy Day has been bigger than the last, including the one in 2025. It's really encouraging to see. I think there's a few cultural shifts that need to happen in order for numeracy, for people to feel as confident as they need to about numbers, and for numeracy to really come to the forefront. A big part of that is the exam culture that we have in the UK. So there's other countries where maths attainment and the education system in general is doing quite well. Finland comes to mind, for example. And it's because they don't have the kind of, you're in a room and then it's just like you got the paper in front of you and then the answer's either right or wrong. It's more of like a continual assessment type attitude towards things. And in the UK, we have, almost a fear of looking like the class boffin, kind of a self-deprecating type culture, which I would love to see change.
Do you still see that in schools now? Would you say, or some of the
during my time at school, when I was at school, I would say I saw it more. But as time, so like in primary school, but as time went on, particularly going to a private school and then a grammar school, I would say that it was cooler to be smart, and that's something that I would like to see continue happening. But look, we're in the age of ChatGPT and Gemini and stuff now. I think like being confident about maths doesn't mean that you need to be able to do stuff in your head. It just means that you need to know where you are, where you're trying to get to, the answer you're trying to get to, and then just use the tools that you need to get there, whether that's a calculator, a spreadsheet. I do loads of calculations, and even like Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel stuff in ChatGPT.
I like that framing. It's knowing where you want to get to and knowing the tools to be able to do it.
You can actually, you can go into, it's an incredible time to be alive. You can go into an AI tool. You can say, look, I've got a spreadsheet with this. In fact, you can just upload the spreadsheet and say, write me a formula that will help me do X, Y, and Z. And it'll just write it for you. I remember 5 years ago, you had to work that out yourself. You had to go on websites and piece it together yourself. Now we'll literally just write the formula for you. So it's about confidence, and we have the tools now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important point. It's just knowing the tools. We're about to wrap up.
Can I chime in on that?
Yeah, for sure.
I was always good at numbers, right? And I studied maths at uni. There were 3 black people on my course. Yeah. My entire course. Yeah. Right, of which one was an international student.
To put it in context, how many people were in the course, would you say?
About 300-400.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. So now when I coach candidates, there's quite a lot of people at Warwick doing Morse and maths, and so there has been a change.
Yeah.
But one thing I used to say to myself is, I don't use my degree in my work. And then someone stopped me one day and said, mathematics teaches you how to problem solve. It's like an exercise on your brain.
Yeah.
So even if you feel you're not using the direct things you learn, what it actually does is it teaches you how to think logically and how to problem solve. And then I look back at what I do, and helping underperforming portfolios and finding a solution to improve that into a profit-making portfolio is problem solving. In your relationships, in your friendships, it's problem solving sometimes. In your workplace, it's problem solving. So I think that people need to, in the UK especially, there needs to be more to improve people's perception and relationship with numbers. So even if you might not do well in the exam, you can still enjoy it. There are a lot of people who play football five-a-side who were never ever going to make it pro, but they do it because of the love of the game. So it's less results and outcome focused and more just, do you know what? I like numbers. Whether I fail, whether I pass, I like numbers.
And I think both of the platforms you've both created will go a long way in doing that. I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you. But
could I possibly just very quick build on what
very
quick. So it's about problem solving. But it also, I think numbers also help you to navigate this modern social media kind of clicks type world we're living in. If you are confident with numbers, then you'll be able to see stuff online and in headlines and know what that means. So for example, if we remember the £22 billion black hole from last year, if you just know that actually the UK government spends £1 trillion a year and you're confident around the numbers, then you'll know that 22 billion is 2% of government spend and therefore cannot be a black hole at all. Do you know what I mean? It just allows you to be able to come to your own conclusions about things rather than just accepting the numbers that are given to you. Because numbers are used to control and bamboozle people all the time. But if you just, just percentages, percentage change, ratios, basic arithmetic, and then you do the stuff where you're using the tools, you'll be able to navigate this modern world a lot better, I think.
No, I think that's a really interesting way of thinking about it, allowing understanding of numbers to enable critical thinking and problem solving as well, which is really important. So I've got some quick fire questions for you.
I think I got one solution. I'm going to be very quick.
We're talking one sentence. Okay, let's hear it. Gamification, talk me through that. I know I just said one numbers, sentence.
Making it entertaining.
You
get a football player. You see someone like Eberechi Eze playing chess with Richard Branson. If you can get your Cole Palmer doing number games in his podcasts with Timmy or myself, right? You go into their world.
I think you make it cool. Shout there.
I think that's the solution.
So making numbers cool. That's and the gamification of it. So I got some quick fire questions. So the thing with the quick fire questions, you cannot take longer than 5 seconds to think about this.
Okay.
This is just like instant response. And then I've got a final question at the end. I'll give you a prep on. The final question at the end, just because I think you might need a couple of seconds to think about this, is that if there was one song to illustrate your journey, both for Stockpickers Academy and also Mr. Money Jar, what would be the go-to song, karaoke song, that would illustrate your journey in both the Stockpickers Academy and also Mr. Money Jar? But before that, so I've got some questions. Cash or card?
Card for me.
Card for me.
That did not sound convinced.
You know what? I just remembered I don't carry cash.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. If you were asked, what's the one app, financial or otherwise, that has made such a difference to your journey, what would that be?
ChatGPT, Gemini.
ChatGPT, that's 2 apps.
So it depends on what I'm trying to do, but Gemini, because there's less of a paywall on it. But I use AI tools every single day for money stuff.
Debodun.
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, that's fair enough.
Because the group is there. I can't live without that group.
And then the final one, biggest financial lesson you've learned in your career so far?
So I got to credit Debodun with this.
Yeah.
Just changing your mind about stuff in the face of new information.
Yeah.
So because of conversations we've been having, I'm beginning to change my mind about cryptocurrency.
Well, were you suspicious of it before?
I wasn't suspicious of it before. I was just too big to want to learn about it. But I had a very small amount of Bitcoin in my Coinbase account. I haven't actually told you about this. which I sent to the Feminist Coalition in 2022 when the End SARS protests were having. And that was like the only time I'd bought cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And I had some left over.
Yeah.
And I went into my Coinbase account the other week because we were talking about crypto.
Yeah.
It's done 733%. That small Bitcoin that was left there. So you just get to a point where you can't be too big to make money. As a store of value, it has outperformed pretty much everything.
Everything, yeah.
So, yeah.
Over to you, Debodun.
I've been on to him.
I know. I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I think it's going to sound very funny, but I was not very pro Bitcoin or crypto at all myself.
Yeah.
I think being open-minded, being humble will make you open-minded. Yeah. They work together because I wasn't very open-minded to crypto. And then I did this project with I'm Just Bait. We helped them launch a coin they were trying to raise for their community that could be spent on boxing fights and all sorts. And I got into the round before it launched, and I saw £2,000 turn into £70,000. And then I was like, okay, let me
take another look at this.
After a while,
let me take another look at this because crypto right now is the only asset class really that is gaining adoption at such a quick rate, and you can't look away, right? Their government's literally adding this to their treasury departments. As an entrepreneur, you should be thinking those extra cash reserves should not just be sitting in Starling Bank, right? Is there anything you can do with maybe 5% on that, right? So, yeah, ultimately, you have to be willing to learn and not ignorant, and don't follow the myths that are out there on social media. Be in the right room. Being in the right room, being in the group I created, and throwing in loads of crypto experts helped me on that journey, which I was able to make more money in crypto than I've ever made in 10 years of stocks accumulated. I was able to make, even aside from that, I was able to make more.
Yeah, no, I like that. So, ensuring that when the facts change, you're responsive to it, but also being humble as well and being able to be open-minded as well. So very similar. And that said,
don't get me wrong,
this is quick fire.
I will be reading books though. I am reading crypto books.
Okay, that's good. Actually, a bonus one very quickly. If somebody was thinking about setting up an unlikely alliance, what would be a young person's thinking about setting up an unlikely alliance for a business or for an adventure or for a charity? What would be one advice from your journey?
There's no shame in business.
There's no shame in business.
I saw a message from Stephen Bartlett out the other day talking about this. A lot of people are held back from limiting beliefs in their head. What will my mum say? What will my friends say? What will my friend from school say? They might think this is a bit cringe, this idea of going online. Like even me, when I started Stockpickers, it was like, I'm now in that Forex, IG, babes category to a lot of people. But these are people that don't pay your bills.
Yeah.
You don't even interact with.
Yeah.
And you're worried about what your public perception could be by going into the Shadeborough comments.
Yeah. No, that's really important.
There's no shame.
There's no shame. Rotimi?
To keep the answer quick, I'll just say now is a fantastic time to start a business because of the AI revolution that we're currently in. About 50 years ago, we had the digital revolution through the creation of the internet. And a couple centuries ago, we had the industrial revolution, which was the move from human power to machine power. And with each revolution, you get a technology layer that's integrated into society, which fundamentally changes everything. So if you think about the fact that like the iPhone didn't exist 20 years ago, and then just look how different the world is now, look at what's happened with social media and so on, that's going to happen again with artificial intelligence. And the thing with each revolution cycle, it's actually gotten shorter. So industrial was centuries long, digital was decades long, and AI is going to change the world beyond all recognition by 2030. So get on it now, educate yourself, learn by doing. Don't have any shame in the starting a business. Humble yourself, like don't be too big to make money. And there are people going to start businesses now that are going to become enormously wealthy in the next 5 years.
Yep.
Have you heard of, for example, I heard about this from Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO. Have you heard of OpenAI's Operator browser?
No.
Okay, so agentic AI is the next frontier of artificial intelligence, and Operator is a browser that will browse the internet for you on your behalf. So using a prompt, you can get it to order food for you, and it will open, and it will go to the website, and it will pick the food, and it will enter payment, and all you do is you just give the PIN to the person when they arrive at your house. That exists today. So the concept of surfing the internet is going to go, like the internet will surf itself.
Yeah.
And every 6 months, the agentic cycles double.
Yeah.
To the point where you're just going to have machines there using themselves.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Such wise words for the next generation. I'm just going to end on this note, which was, in one word, what song would it be to illustrate your journey? It's always
I need to
there.
go on my Spotify.
What would be it could be, could be something that speaks to a certain time about when you say it up. What would be?
Do you know what? The song that's coming to mind for me is Dizzy Rascal, Respect Me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like it.
I would say that when I first got started on my journey, I wanted to appease people and to be liked. I care about that less now. I just want people to respect me. So if I've said something that people believe that it's true, and they believe that I've done the research, and with my peers, it would be nice to be friends with people and to be able to work with people. But if I had just the respect of my peers and the people in my industry, that would be great too.
Thank you. I think that's a great choice. As I look to Debodun, who is frantically searching Spotify.
I went on Spotify. Listen, the first song on my Spotify is Options by NSG.
Ah, lies. Yeah.
Money online.
Yeah. That probably.
You'll never run out of options.
Yeah. That is it. Rotimi, Debodun, thank you so much for your time. Both of your journeys has been fascinating, and I found this conversation fascinating as well. Can't wait to see what you'll do in the future. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
The Unlikely Alliance with Johnson Situ. Bridging differences, sparking conversations.